Welcome to another edition of the CDG BizCast. I'm your host, Christian Gonzalez, co-owner of Creativity Design Group, a digital marketing firm in Houston, Texas. Before we begin today's episode, I have a very special announcement to make. At the time of this episode's release, CDG BizCast has made FEEDSPOT'S list of top 100 Houston business podcasts. BizCast has been in production for a year and a half, and I would like to give a special thank you to my regular panelists and all of our guests who have been a vital part to the show's success. Thank you. Today's episode is about how businesses of all sizes need to do better when it comes to hiring new employees. We discuss how qualified applicants struggle to find a job when they do not have a college degree, yet they have the experience and skills to perform the jobs they seek. Joining me today are my wonderful panelists, Dana and Justin, both who have several years of experience in the workforce, and how they feel about the difficulties of job searching. Additionally, we discuss the immorality of nepotism in the hiring process and how it can outright destroy a company or organization. Small business owners, are you looking to hire? Are you looking to find somebody who can help you in certain areas of your business? When you're hiring, make sure you keep qualified applicants in mind and not just those who have college education or certain degrees. You want to review every applicant who applies and make sure that they truly are qualified. We are seeing a lot of people being passed over when it comes to getting hired, and this is especially true within the millennials and the Gen X generations. There are a lot of people within these groups who are more than qualified to take on certain jobs, but we're not seeing companies hiring properly. They're simply going by certain credentials that they have, when in fact there are a lot of qualified applicants out there who do not have a college degree but are more than capable of taking on certain jobs. So Dana, I want to start with you first. I know that you have had some trouble trying to find a job in the past, and you have 10 years worth of experience in the retail field. Please tell us more about your experience and what you think small business owners should be doing when it comes to hiring people like you.
Thanks for having me on the show again, Christian. Yeah, so to be honest, I've actually started working in the retail field in 2011. So I have, over 10 years of retail experience under my belt. But as you mentioned before, sometimes people of my generation, and I'm a millennial, I was born 1990 for reference. And there are people in my generation, even in Gen X, who's the generation before mine, that don't have a college education. It's not that we don't want to have a college education. Sometimes it's that we are unable to sit in a college setting. Now, I do have my licensure in massage therapy, but I froze that personally. I don't want to pursue that field. That was something for the time being, but it's just not my calling. I don't know what that will be, but when it comes down to the retail setting, I started working in March of 2011. So, yeah, I have the 10 plus years under my belt, but When I'm looking for a job now, it's 2023. It's May of 2023. So you're talking 12 years later. I'm very much having a difficult time trying to find a job. Could it be because of me being overqualified? And that's something that I don't like, is that all these people who are, and I mean no disrespect to the Gen Z generation, but it looks like they're getting a lot of the jobs when Gen X and millennials are getting overlooked. Could it be because of our age? Could it be because of overqualification? It really is, it's difficult. I know one of my friends is a Gen X, and she's been trying to find a better position, a better job even, and she gets turned down because she's overqualified for the job. And that's not fair to her. And what about, those who do have those years under your belt of customer service? I mean, small business owners and corporate business owners and store leaders at large would notice that, business owners and management is they're looking more for the fresh out of high school crowd with no experience. Wouldn't you rather have somebody with the experience to, and not to discredit those Gen Zs who don't have the experience, but wouldn't you want to integrate and blend both in so, we could learn something from each other? I remember working, and I'm gonna say it flat out. I was working at Kohl's department store when I first started, when in the workforce. I was 20. When I had gotten hired, I was 20 years old. I'm now 32. So, for reference here, I remember training a couple people on register when I was working as a cashier. And I actually trained one person on register in particular who went on to become a front end supervisor. We called them the 2-7 position, 2-7. So she went on to become a 2-7. And okay, great. That's what she wanted to do. No big deal. But it's like every time I try to find a job, it's like I keep getting rejected. It's like, oh, we don't need you, or, you don't have the necessary qualifications. Well, I have a lot of experience. I have 12 years under my belt. I don't have a college degree. I can't sit in a college class because I have slight learning disabilities. I have ADD and ADHD as well. But that does not discredit me from what I do in retail. The manager over at the CVS I worked for, CVS front end there, the store manager said that if he could, he would go against corporate policy and rehire me because I was such a hard worker. And he would go against corporate HR to hire me back. And I'm not going to give away which location this was, and I'm not going to give away his name because I want to make sure that he is safe on this, that he would not face retaliation. However, he did say to me that he would go against HR to hire me back because I was such a hard worker. And it's just hard to find a job that would actually work with me and hire me. As I've said it before, I'll say it again, here in this podcast, everybody's hiring, but nobody's biting. Nobody is taking the applications into consideration. We have all this experience. Why? Small business owners, corporate leaders, why? Why are you not taking into consideration those with the qualifications that you need? Why are you just hiring these Gen Zs and not taking into consideration those as well? And I'm not saying don't hire the Gen Zs. I'm saying hire Gen Z, Gen X, and Millennial as well. It's not fair to us when we need a job that we're not getting a job.
Very well said, Dana. I mean, I can give you a theory over why certain people are not getting hired. I have said this before in previous episodes that nepotism plays a key role in the hiring process at any company. These hiring managers are always going to look at their internal contacts first. They're going to hire connections to their existing employees or family members or people that they know in general or have the closest relationship to. As much as I hate to say this has always been a problem. Let me tell you about myself. Before I started CDG, I was in the workforce too. And right after I graduated from college, I was trying to find a job. Even my career services counselor back at school could not find me a job, even though he kept sending my resume out everywhere, and it was a resume that he wrote himself for me to help me. I still didn't get very many bites. I went on a few job interviews, couldn't get hired, and I'm only 2 years younger than you are, Dana. So we're both millennials. We both face the same problem. I eventually did get hired at a few companies, but the positions were not 100% relevant to what I was looking for. They were graphic design positions, but they were not directly related to the creative side of graphic design. It was more the production side, working with promotional products. And my other job that I had started out as a graphic design position, but then eventually they quit using me for graphic design stuff, and I eventually became a receptionist for the front desk, doubling as an office manager, taking phone calls. Exactly. So that's why I left that job. I used that job to gain some startup capital to help get CDG going. But you could see I was facing a very similar dilemma. I found several jobs online that I was more than qualified for. And I want to say something else about applying for jobs online too. Applying for jobs online can be one of the most annoying things anybody can do, because it just drains you, because you apply, you never hear back. And most of the time when you do hear back, it's usually for scam-related positions that involve pyramid schemes and MLM. I've also heard that hiring managers will put these listings out so that way they can appear that they are hiring, so that way they don't get in trouble with the law, because the law does require in some places for companies to show that they are hiring, when in reality they've already hired somebody, or they're going through a completely separate hiring process that involves somebody that they already know. This is just one reason why it's hard for certain people to get jobs. If they don't know you, they're not going to be interested in hiring. Networking is key to getting a job. It also depends a lot on who you know as well as what you know. And I've heard some people tell me it's more about who you know versus what you know, because
fair to anybody. I see, really quick, I'm sorry to interject here. I see all these applications online, and for example, with respect to applying at Target, for example, I know all of these have this, but I'm just going to use a couple as an example. Target is do you have any friend or family member who previously worked for Target? Or works for Target? If you say no, it's like, well, what are you supposed to do? You can't lie on those things. DSW, do you have any friend or family member, XYZ, like everywhere you apply is, do you have a friend or family member? Do you have a friend or family member? And that's not fair to everybody. I'll be honest, I applied at my local Stop and Shop, and I have an ex-friend of mine who I no longer associate with, but they used to work at a Stop and Shop. What am I supposed to do? I don't want to lie, but I don't want to put them down at the same time because I no longer associate with that particular person. I can't lie, but I can't put that down. So I'm kind of like stuck in a catch-22 here.
That's basically putting yourself between a rock and a hard place, you could say. And it's very unfortunate that happened. When applying for jobs, it's always best to make sure that you're 100% honest on your applications, because employers will check certain things. For example, if it asks on the application if you've ever been convicted of a felony, and you were, and you said no, they're going to look into that. And then once they find out that you lied about that, they're not going to hire you. They're going to look for somebody else who's more honest. And references too. Employers do check for references as well. But here's the thing about references. The only thing they're allowed to check when they call an ex-employer for a reference is to confirm that you worked there for a certain number of dates. They're not allowed to ask why you left your previous job. Especially if you were fired, they might want to know that, but your ex-employer is not allowed to say that. They're not allowed to give the reason.
Federal policy.
That's right.
Inform that it's a DOL law, that Department of Labor law, that a former employer cannot disclose more information than merely a confirmation that they worked there and the dates to confirm as well. A yes or no and the dates. They cannot disclose any additional information than that. It is against the law. And a lot of people don't realize that.
That's correct. One thing that I notice a lot of people will do when they're getting their list of references is that if they had a bad relationship with their boss, they won't list them as a reference, but instead will find a close friend of theirs who they worked with at the company to be their reference instead, because they want to have a reference from their previous job, but they don't want to use their their old boss because they didn't have a good relationship with him or her. So they will use their closest friend as that reference. So, Dana, what do you think about that method in particular?
With respect to the references,
Yes.
I don't agree with it personally. A lot of people I've spoken to, a lot of applications I put in, even say with references cannot be a close friend or a family member because that would pose a conflict of interest. In my opinion, if you were to put a family member down, they would all be like, yeah, no, she's a good worker, or yeah, no, he's a great worker, blah, 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 just so you can get the job. And how are they supposed to know if that's really true or not? They don't. Employers don't know this information. So unfortunately, word of mouth is the only real thing they can do for references at the moment. And that's why they want you to be honest. Is like you can. Some even have said on the applications, list 3 references. It cannot be a close friend or family member. So it has to be somebody from your previous, employment, which I can understand. And I can understand why it cannot be close friend or family member, but that's just, I don't agree with putting a close friend or family member down. I agree with putting, if you have a great relationship with your boss, great. If the boss actually says to you, put me down as a reference, hey, that right there shows that they care and, they think you're a wonderful worker. But if you're just going to put a close, a friend down, a coworker who you were very close to, and not put your boss down, because your boss sees more than what your coworkers see. Your boss sees your interactions with other coworkers as well. And just because you're close with one person in the workforce as a coworker relationship doesn't mean you're automatically close to everybody else. I've noticed that workplaces will often have their cliques. And that's not right, in my opinion. That's not right to have a clique. What are we in high school again, Christian? This is not high school.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. Family members and close friends should not be used as references because they are not professional contacts. They are personal contacts that have nothing to do with your time in the workforce. Of course, your mom or your dad are going to say something nice about you. That's not going to help you boost your career. That's why they don't make good references. Now, while I don't think you should use a close personal friend as a reference, I don't see anything wrong with using a coworker that you know from your previous job as a reference because that would be considered a professional contact. Justin, we haven't heard from you yet. What would you like to say about this matter in terms of professional references or the struggles of finding a job in general as a millennial or a Gen X or Gen Z?
I was born in 84 and I myself have been trying to find work, and I find that the online applications that take like 45 minutes to an hour and a half to fill out can at times be overcomplicated for those of us who may not have complete digital literacy like the younger generation do. Because a lot of millennials didn't grow up with a home computer, internet like Gen Z and some of the younger millennials. And I find that because of my military diagnosis when I was kicked out of the military on a mental health medical discharge, did it make it that much harder to find a job in the private workforce because they think that you're not going to be able to do the job even if you're physically capable of doing the job. They worry about whether or not you have the mental capacity to handle the stress of the workplace. And that's just some of the discrimination I've faced over the years, trying to find something that I can do on the side to supplement my disability pension because I've got a few bills myself I have to pay.
And it's unfortunate that many people, such as yourself, Justin, have to face that discrimination. Now, small business owners, it's important to remember that discriminating against people with disabilities is against federal law, and you can face a lot of legal trouble for that. So make sure that you keep everybody in mind who you feel is possibly fit to do the job, but you cannot discriminate on them based on their disabilities. That is actually something that many people of the older generation, such as the elderly generation, face. A lot of the discrimination that many people, such as yourself, Justin, face Many of these people are also within the elderly generation, such as the baby boomers, and they want to work too. However, their battle to find a job is just as bad as what millennials and Gen X's are facing, because many employers view them as not being able to handle whatever job they're applying for. They view elderly people as slow, and in some cases, they feel that they don't think as much as the younger generations do, or aren't as technologically literate. Those are all huge myths that many employers go by. Just because they are within that age range does not mean that they aren't capable of doing the job. That is one thing that job seekers within the younger generations have with the older generations. You could say that today's millennials are dealing with the exact same crap that our grandparents are facing. And that's just sad. There are a lot of people, there are a lot of qualified individuals out there who can do these jobs. Give them a chance, small business owners. And this also goes double for all you large mega corporations as well. Quit discriminating based on age and based on what degrees and credentials they have. There are a lot of people out there who do not have college degrees who are more than capable of doing these jobs. And in some cases, they're more capable of doing certain jobs than people who actually have college degrees are.
And it's very, very frustrating too, because I've noticed a lot of times, especially in the more recent years, I graduated high school in 2008. So I've noticed that, especially around that time frame and also after that, I have noticed that more and more people are taking time off from school and going to work instead. Now, another thing I've noticed in the workforce, now, as I said before, I am a licensed massage therapist. I did go to school and I'm certified for that. I froze my license by choice, but that's another story at another time for altogether. What I've noticed when I was trying to find a job there is you have to have experience to get the job. What's backwards is you need a job to get experience, but yet to get a job. How does that make sense, Christian? I'm sorry, but how does that make sense?
It makes absolutely no sense, and I felt the same way myself when I was job searching. So here, I just graduated from college. I'm ready to get into the workforce. I go online and try to apply for some jobs, and I see that they all require experience. And you know what's even worse than that, Dana? Entry-level positions that require experience. How much sense does it make when an entry-level position requires prior experience?
Zero. It makes zero sense. I was fortunate enough to find a place that would let me apply right out of right out of college for massage therapy. I found a place that was willing to train to give that experience. And yeah, okay, it's not a chain like Hand and Stone or Massage Therapy. It was a little small mom and pop shop owned and operated by a brother and a sister. The sister was the office manager, the brother was the lead therapist. And I went there and I applied and I worked there for 2 years before I had relocated. And I stayed a little longer, but I couldn't anymore. So I left because I relocated and couldn't afford the trip. But it was really, really nice because these people actually are willing, they understand. I'll be honest, brother told me that he has learning disabilities. He is a lefty, and he was told in school that he wouldn't amount to anything. Well, here he is running his own business. Running his own business as a massage therapist, a licensed massage therapist, which is not really an easy field. And it's expensive too, upwards of anywhere from $7,000 for upwards of $13,000 to $15,000. It's not cheap. It is not cheap at all. Depending on the school you go to, it's not cheap. So here he is running his own business, proving everybody wrong, and he's willing to, take fresh out of school graduates and, for experience. And it's not fair to those who need the experience. Like as you say, Christian, you can't get an entry-level position without experience. How is that entry level? How is an entry-level position that needs experience entry level? And that's not right. That's not fair. And then you have, these places that require a GED, which I can understand why you need a GED or high school diploma. But I'm sorry, but sometimes we don't. You need to pay to get a GED. But Justin, I know you have a GED. Did you have to, whoever it was that got it, did you guys have to pay to get the GED?
Yeah, you actually have to pay in order to be allowed to take the test for the GED.
That's
I didn't have
backwards.
the funds for myself. My recruiter when I was in the Army is actually the one that paid for me to be able to take that test so I'd be qualified to be hired by the military,
It's just,
believe it or not.
it's backwards. It's so backwards. There are people who are so intelligent in this world, but yet don't have the necessary means and opportunity and even the funding to pay for this GED. That's backwards. You can't even get a job without a high school education or a GED. And there's so many people who want these jobs but can't get them, and yet they're qualified in other ways. Again, this is almost like discrimination in my opinion. Also, my mental health is declining because I'm not working and I can't find a job, so I'm getting frustrated, and I'm actually going downhill with that sense. My mental health is going downhill.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dana. Trying to find a job can be very, very soul sucking. It can be tiring, and it does have an effect on your mental health. There's a lot of people out there who just do not want to work. You're the opposite. You want to get out there and work again. You're just struggling because most likely employers feel that you're too overqualified for the positions that you're applying for, and that's just what's
It's
wrong.
not that I just want to work. I do want to work. I need to get out there and do things. I cannot stay inside my apartment in closed quarters and not go crazy. Yeah, okay, I have things I need to do here, but I have bills I need to pay as well. I'm also up for renewal with my disability, so I need to get that taken care of too. But I can't also just focus on anything like that. I need to get out there. I need to work. For my mental health, I need to work.
And not only do you need to work, but you also want to make sure it's at a job where you'll be happy, where they treat you respectfully, and you know there's benefit. Dana, I understand exactly where you're coming from when it comes to the mental health aspect. I too thought I was going to go stir crazy. Literally 1 week after I graduated from college, I was ready to get to work right away. And I was just getting very anxious. I wanted to start working. I went on a few interviews at a few different companies, but nothing ever came of them. I went on a lot of fruitless interviews where nothing happened, where all I did was go to the interview, I answered their questions, and then I never heard back. And then when I follow up with them, they told me that they already hired somebody. And that's another thing right there. To me, one of the most frustrating aspects of job searching is when employers do not give the courtesy to let their applicants know that they weren't hired. I understand that would be a lot of people to go through, but I still think it would be nice for them to at least let you know. I mean, we take the time after the interview is over, us applicants, to write an email thanking you for your time to interview us. Why aren't you taking the time to do the same thing to us with a follow-up? It's just so hypocritical that employers expect their employees to abide by certain standards that they themselves don't abide by when it comes to professionalism.
And a lot of people don't understand this part either, Christian. And I don't understand why this is not made known to people. If you apply for a position and you don't hear back from them, don't assume that they didn't get your application. Don't assume that they did get your application. Out of situations where you apply online even and your application just gets shuffled around and then misplaced. Follow up with them. Be persistent, but don't be a pest. If you follow up with them, say, okay, hypothetically speaking, let's say today we're recording this on Monday, May 15th. If I put in an application today and I don't hear back for a week, yeah, okay, I'll give them probably till the end of the month. And then, I was like, I'd like to check on the status of my application. That is very crucial, but people don't realize. You always want to follow up, but give them time to process it. I'd say about 7 to 10 days would be, adequate. Not
Yes, that's actually a very good time frame to wait until you follow up. It's important to remember what you said earlier, that don't just assume that your application was passed on. Here's the sad truth about that. I've read many stories about this. Remember what I said earlier about how they'll just put a job application up just so that it looks that they're hiring in order to comply with certain state laws. I've read that some hiring managers don't even look at the online application. It is very true that they just put these out there so that they don't get in any legal trouble. There are some that do not look at the online application because they're too busy trying to hire internally.
Busy that they don't even tell the applicant that they're legally, I think they're supposed to keep the application on file for 90 days. And if they have a position come up within that 90 days, I think, and Christian, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but aren't they supposed to take from that application list that's already in there before they search elsewhere?
It really depends on what your local state laws are that govern that aspect of it. But employers in general have the ability otherwise to hire based on who they already know. It's completely up to the employer's discretion over who they're going to put at priority. If they want to put internal contacts first over list of applicants who applied online or elsewhere, that's up to their discretion unless the law says otherwise. It's really sad. Nepotism is the main driving factor behind many hiring processes. It is. It's horrible. It's, in my eyes, it's not only horrible, it's also unethical because they're not giving perfectly qualified candidates a chance, especially those who deserve to be working in those positions. What's even worse about nepotistic hiring is that they'll hire somebody based out of their internal contacts who does not have any experience at all, and they're trying to do their friend or family member a favor by hiring them.
Thank you. That's exactly what I've been trying to say to everybody else and their brother when I talk about this. Thank you.
It's just so disgusting how this happens. Now, I'm a business owner, as you know. I own CDG. If I were hiring, I would be looking at all aspects of qualifications because I never know who I could be hiring. There are so many hidden crown jewels among all these applicants out there. I'm not just going to put people I know at priority unless I know that that person, that internal contact of mine, truly has the qualifications to take things to the next level. If I see that there's somebody out there who applied online for whatever positions I'm hiring for that has more qualifications than my friend does, I'm most likely going to hire that person that I saw online first and give them a chance because I'm not one of those heartless employers who are just trying to do favors. I actually like to operate ethically, unlike other people out there.
The situation are relevant. A couple of positions that I know of, especially with IT help desk positions, for example, they're master's degree positions. A lot of them. One of my friends does not even have a master's degree, let alone a college degree. He doesn't even have a college degree. And he has all this experience with, he was living out here. It was with the billing department and other, relevant positions as well. And he tried applying for this position with this IT help desk, but he kept getting rejected. Why? He didn't have a master's degree. Well, how did he get the position then? He was working on a project for a gentleman of a higher up position. He knew this gentleman was higher up. He just didn't know how high up this guy was in the chain of command. Working on a project for the vice president of the company. And he didn't even know that it was a vice president. And the HR manager's like, did you apply for X, Y, and Z position? Because you'd be great at it. And he says, yeah, but I got denied numerous times because I don't have a master's degree. And he's like, and the HR manager's like, she says, apply again. I'll get you through. You have the experience, you have the expertise, you have the knowledge and the know-how. You don't have a master's degree? No problem. You have the experience. I'll get you in. Put in the application again. He put in the application when he got home and he got through. And he's been working there for a few years now. 4 or 5 years now.
Oh, that's great to hear. The proof is in the pudding right there in your story that when your job application goes beyond the online aspect of it, and there's actually some human interaction, some interaction with the people that work there, you can see things go to the next level. But if you just rely on filling out your application and then you just assume that you were denied because you never hear back, you're not going anywhere. You've got to follow up because once you start getting in contact with the people who are in charge of hiring, you just might see what you thought was a dead application get revived and excel and move into the next level. Got to follow up. Like I said earlier, it's really sad that employers hold their employees to certain standards and a certain etiquette that they don't follow themselves. It's really hypocritical, and that's another thing I do not like. It's another conversation for another day, a whole nother BizCast episode, but hypocrisy will lead to your downfall. Now, Justin, you were about to tell me a story earlier before we started taping about what happened to you when you were trying to apply for a job at 24 years old. Please tell us about that.
Well, I had recently run out of options to get high quality jobs that would actually pay the rent. And this was during the switch over from the Bush administration to the Obama administration. So I decided to show up at the Army recruiter's office, knowing full well that I did not have a high school diploma or GED. And at that point, I'd been in the workforce for 10 years because I'd started working at 14. Due to some circumstances beyond my control, I'd only had a K through 6 education at that point, and that, of course, is outside my control. But when I took the practice test for the ASVAB exam to enter into the military, I'd actually scored at the time better than about half the people that apply. And that qualified me to take the big test. But when they found out I didn't have a GED, my recruiter said, "Don't worry, let's set this up. I'll pay for your test. I know where to go." Because I did not at that time know where to go to get my GED or high school diploma. Thankfully, my recruiter did. And so I was able to take the test within the next couple of days because he paid for it. And that allowed me to take the main test in the Salt Lake City Military Employment Processing Station in Salt Lake City. And that led to my career in the military. And in a post-military environment, as far as having been separated for health reasons that were related to and or caused by my time in the military, a lot of employers have been very discriminatory. And when I had moved to the East Coast, I ended up, of course, getting married to my now late wife. And the first 2 years, what was going on at the time is that 2 or 3 years later in 2011, after 296 rejected job applications, I finally gave up trying to find a job and ended up having to file for my disability pensions through Social Security and the VA.
Did you
I
say
was
296? 296? Is that what you said?
Yes, I did.
Oh my God.
296 rejected job applications.
I thought I had a difficult time finding a job.
I feel sorry for you, Justin. That's terrible.
And I ended up, because of that, not being able to actually get enough funds put aside to take the driver's education courses out here to actually get my license until 2015 when I was 31.
How old were you when you moved to the East Coast?
That would have been when I was 24, 25-ish, back in
Jeez.
2009.
Jeez. Because of your military discharge status?
Yeah, because it was a disability caused by military service that closed a lot of doors.
Do you mind if
employment.
I ask what the discharge said you were diagnosed with?
Mental illness.
I have mental illness as well, and that's not right. I have bipolar disorder type 1. I have autism. I have ADD, ADHD. I have learning disabilities. That doesn't mean crap. That doesn't mean anything. Just because you have a mental illness doesn't mean anything. This is where the ADA steps in. This is where the Americans with Disabilities Act steps in. This is where it is illegal to discriminate an applicant because of disability and other protected classes in law. The ADA, if I last checked, is part of the it is a revised agreement from, and I could be wrong on my dates, but there was 1973, I think it was a DOL, a Department of Labor ruling, and the ADA Act of 1990 This is where ADA steps in, Justin. That should not have to happen. I don't drive. I'm 32 years old. I still don't have a license. That's not right.
You're right. It is wrong that they are discriminating against people who are perfectly qualified. Having this disability doesn't mean anything. However, in the eyes of employers, they view these disabilities as something that could be possibly problematic down the road. So the reason why they break the law and discriminate in the hiring process is because they're not going to get caught. Somebody who's disabled could try to sue them saying that they rejected me because I was disabled, but then the burden of proof is on the plaintiff. They have to prove in their lawsuit that so-and-so company, XYZ company, did not hire them because they were disabled in some sort of way. That's why companies discriminate, because they know they can get away with it. It's just really sad, in my opinion, that happens. Unless you have proof showing that they actually discriminated against you in the hiring process, you have no case. And it's just really, really disgusting.
I've seen Justin when he's working. I've seen him. He is one of the most dedicated workers I have ever seen. And that's not right that he's getting discriminated because of a mental illness, because of a disability. Justin, you had some contracting jobs. You've worked for your HOA at some point for the trash recycling. I've seen you work. You were dedicated. You were not supposed to do the recycling bins. That was not part of the contract, but you still did it. Why? Because you wanted to. Because you were so dedicated to your job. And I've seen you work. And I am disgusted at those rejected job applications because they missed out on a good worker. That's their fault. That's their loss. Shame on them for discriminating.
I agree.
For being prejudiced.
I agree, especially since the particular mental illness that was caused by basic training in me, it was a combination of clinical paranoia, schizophrenia, and bipolar type 3.
I think you're misdiagnosed, but that's a conversation you're not going to have later.
I do want to end the show saying this. Employers, small businesses or large corporations otherwise, shame on you for overlooking such wonderful qualified candidates just because you want to discriminate based on what degrees they have, what disabilities they have, and their age group. Shame on you. And also, shame on you for your nepotistic hiring standards that you have. Stop hiring people because you know them. Just because you know them does not mean in any way that they are qualified for the job. Stop being stupid by hiring unqualified idiots that you just want to do favors for because you want to be nice to them because they're your friend or your family. Guess what? That hire, that nepotistic hire that you're bringing on could end up being the downfall of your entire company because they did not know what you were doing when you hired them. Hire qualified people. Quit overlooking people just because they're strangers too. Quit being so stupid in your hiring processes. Hire people that you know are right for the job. Listen to what I'm saying. Look at their applications. If they had previous experience working somewhere else and they excelled at that job, go ahead and give them a chance. Quit hiring based on stupid, nepotistic, and hypocritical standards. Quit enforcing rules on your employees that your own management does not even abide by. Hypocrisy is a whole different thing, but there are a lot of wonderful people out there who are more than qualified to take on certain jobs that you're trying to hire for, and you're being stupid by ignoring them, by overlooking them. Stop it!
Had to deal with not working since November. It's May. Stop doing this, business owners, large corporations, small businesses. I don't care. Stop doing this. What you are doing, this nepotism, is just wrong. Stop doing this. Stop being stupid and, as Christian said, and hiring people you know because, hey, it's a favor. Stop doing this. We people need work too. Gen X, millennial, baby boomers, etc. We need work too. We are more than qualified to do this work, and you are overlooking us because of our age, because of a potential with weakness. Hey, you don't know what we have in terms of strength and weaknesses. Just because may not be physically strong doesn't mean we're not emotionally strong, and vice versa. I may be 200 and something odd pounds. I may be clinically obese by my BMI, but my strength is in my legs. I have solid muscle. Just because I'm maybe overweight and clinically obese doesn't mean I'm not physically strong. I've actually been strong enough to fracture a rib numerous times over. That doesn't mean anything. I am more than qualified. There are other people out there who are more than qualified for your positions you have open. Give us a chance. You might be grateful you did.
You made some strong points there. Yes, I agree with all of that. Stop being stupid. Stop overlooking great people out there. And then here's another thing. When an application comes in through your online portal or wherever you post, read it! Hire these people! Give them a chance! They are great! Stop with the nepotistic hiring standards. Let me go back to what I said earlier. If you're just going to keep playing favorites with your buddies and your family, you're going to bring your whole company down, because we all know that you are not hiring people based on actual qualifications. You're hiring because you want to give somebody in your family or a really close friend of yours a job and they don't have any experience, and then they end up messing up later.
Why all this turnover even happens, Christian? These businesses wonder why this turnover happens. I wonder why they're not hiring those who are actually qualified for the job. And they hire these people who have zero experience with the work and expect them to do a demanding job. They have no idea at all what they're doing to their own company. Stop it, business owners, large corporations, small businesses. I don't care. It does not matter. There are people like me out there, like Justin out there, who are trying to find a simple way to survive. A simple means of living. We may not have a college education, but you know what? That doesn't matter. That does not matter. We are struggling to survive. Let me say that again, business owners. We need people who you are overlooking in your application list. We are struggling to survive. We have bills we need to pay. We have food we need to put on the table. We have things we need to do, and we are struggling to survive. The nepotism. Stop it.
Business owners, you'd be surprised who you might hire, because there might be a person on that application list that can do the work of 20 people. Like happened with me in the fast food industry.
And there are people out there like me, for example, who when I left CVS, that manager has since told me, if you put in that application, I'd go against corporate and hire you right back. You were the best worker we've ever had. And he told me that to my face. You were the best worker we have ever had at this location. So shame on you. Shame on you, small business owners. Shame on you, large corporations. I don't care. We are the best workers that you are overlooking. You wonder why there's so much turnover. Well, there's your answer. Right there. Right in your face. There's your answer.
Shame on those 296 companies who turned down Justin. Justin, I know exactly what you're like. You're intelligent. You're hardworking. A big shame on you to all those companies who turned them down, because y'all just missed out on a great employee who would have really helped y'all out. He would have been a major asset to all of your companies. 296. That is unacceptable. He should have been working for one of them. He should have been working for one of them, and y'all passed him off because of why? We'll never know, but I'm just going to assume it's because of your stupid nepotism. Stop being so ignorant about who you're hiring and actually do your due diligence. Look into all these applications and look very closely, because you never know. You might just end up passing up that one employee who takes your... Shame on all of you if you're just using nepotism as your basis of hiring. Shame on you. Shame on you.
They continue down this road. I have no doubt in my mind they will face a lovely dose of negative karma. Is that really what you business owners want on your conscience? A negative dose of karma coming your way because you get what you put into the universe, and karma will bite you in the butt when you least expect it if you continue down this path. This is just wrong. People like me, I'm sorry, I'll be flat out honest, Christian. I'm getting less than $1,000 a month from disability. I'm getting $976 a month. My parents are paying my rent because I can't afford it. I have bills I need to pay. I have things I need to get. I have groceries I need to get. My dad had to just take me grocery shopping yesterday. You know how much that grocery shopping list was? The total $500 and some odd for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks worth of groceries. I can't afford that. I have internet I need to pay. I need power bill I need to pay. I have things I need to do. I still have to pay off my therapy sessions. And on top of that, I'm dealing with a loan that I need to pay off. That's $500 and some odd dollars in a month that I need to pay. So that all together, plus the groceries, I can't afford that. So no wonder I need to have my parents help me. I can't do it on my own. I need that job because I need to get that income going. And on top of that, shame on you small business owners. Just because, and all you corporate leaders as well, shame on you. How dare you overlook really great qualified workers like me and like Justin. And even like Christian too. You know, I know you have been dealing with potential, job hunting too, Christian, but shame on you, small business owners. Shame on you, corporate leaders in management. Shame on you. You never know who you will hire. I have been one of the best workers that CVS has ever seen. My manager told me that to my face. That's not every day you have a manager tell an associate, a part-time associate, that they are one of the best workers that they have ever seen at a company. Shame on you. May karma come back and bite you in the butt.
A big shame on you to all the corporate leaders, especially who, after you hire, you keep putting the interest of all of management ahead of your small, lower level employees. Shame on you! Shame on you for always trying to make sure that y'all get to go home with big bags of money every day while you leave breadcrumbs for the little guy. The little people are the ones who keep your company alive. Quit neglecting them. Without them, you have no company. I've worked for a company before where there were 3 owners, right? All they cared about is how much they would walk home with every day. And this company was so bad because they were also ripping off their customer base as well. Whenever a customer wanted a refund, they made them jump through hoops just to try to get it. But that's another story for another day.
1% of the population shares 99% of the money. 99% of the population shares 1% of the money. You ever hear of that, Christian?
Yeah, that's true. That's actually very true.
It's so expensive in New Jersey. It's not like I have a choice. This is where I was born and raised. 1-bedroom apartment. I'll be honest with you guys. This 1-bedroom, 750 square foot apartment is like $1,700 is going up. The rent is going up. And with taxes, $1,700 turns into $2,300. Plus utilities, plus this, plus that. I can't even afford the 17, let alone the 23. New Jersey is expensive. We're one of the most expensive states in the country. And we're going on a $16-15 minimum wage? That is not livable.
Absolutely not. And if I have any New Jersey listeners, hire her. Hire Dana. She is one of the best employees you will ever get.
I'm in the North Plainfield area. I'm trying to apply and place in Watchung. Hello? I'm a great worker. Just give me a chance.
If I have any listeners in North Plainsfield who are hiring, give her a chance, especially if it's in the retail field, because she has 10 years of experience. Give her a chance.
Very fast learner, and I love learning new things. And if I want to learn something else, I will tell you. If I want to learn something, there's a reason I want to bring it up. When I was working at Kohl's in Hillsborough, when I started there, I put in as a cashier and I worked department. They put me on cashier to learn that for my second day working there for backup. Well, they kept me there since, and I put in the requests on my own that I wanted to learn customer service because I saw they were getting swamped. I saw that they were getting overworked and underappreciated. So I said, I want to learn customer service to help them out. Well, guess what? 2 years later, I ended up being cross-trained and fully customer service because I put in that request. When I was working at ShopRite, I put in a request to help other departments, to help other areas that I could within the union. When I was working at CVS, I saw the same thing with pharmacy. I put in the request. I had to pass some clearances, fine, big whoop. And I did, and guess what? They appreciated me, and that manager at CVS still to this day thinks I'm one of the best workers and has said to my face that I'm one of the best workers that he has ever employed and has ever come across at any location he's ever managed at, not just CVS, and he's worked elsewhere as well. So I'm sorry, but if you're in the north, if you're a business owner in the North Plainfield area, Watchung, North Plainfield, whatever, doesn't matter, and you see my application get in, give me a chance. Please give me a chance. I'll be glad you did.
You have a lot of skills that I know employers would value, and the fact that you have this willingness to learn is also a plus in employers' eyes. And yes, give her a chance. She's looking for a job. Nobody's biting. Give her a chance right now, North Plainsfield. Employers, take all this advice that I've given you to heart. Quit hiring people based on nepotism and give your strangers who apply for your job, for your open positions, a chance.
I have nothing further to say at this time to employers except that nepotism will bring your companies down eventually, because when you promote the unqualified, you begin to cost your company more money than the promotion was worth in terms of your friendship.
Yes, that's exactly right. In a nutshell, nepotism is going to kill your company. This has been an ongoing problem for as long as I can remember, and it needs to stop. You have great people like Dana and Justin who want to work at your organizations, but if you're going to allow nepotism to poison the company's culture, especially its hiring process, well, that's on you if you want to see your company fail. I have no more words on the matter. Just stop with the hypocrisy, stop playing favorites with people that you already know, and give all your applicants an equal opportunity to work.
I'd like to close out with a question for business owners, as I always do, Christian, if I may.
Yes, Dana, what's your question?
Business owners out there, whether you are small business owners or corporate leaders or management, my question to you guys to reflect on is this. As I always do in every podcast that I am a part of, I'd like to close out with a question for y'all to reflect on. Would you rather see your company succeed or fail? If you continue down this path of nepotism, as Christian says, it will fail. Would you rather have your company thrive and succeed or fail? The choice is yours. Choose wisely.
That's right, the choice is yours. If you want success, hire some hard-working, dedicated employees like Dana here. If you want to see failure, go ahead and hire your unqualified brother-in-law who has no business being in that position you're hiring for. Go ahead, it's up to you. I've heard in the past that failure is not an option. Well, guess what? That's wrong. Failure is an option. You can choose to be successful, or you can choose to fail. Your company goes out of business and all your shareholders go bankrupt. That's completely up to you. But thanks again, guys, for joining. I hope all business owners will keep that question in mind as we close the show. Remember your hiring process. Keep that very important question in mind, and then let's see what happens from there. You'll either be successful or you'll fail.
This was a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and I really, really think it was important to address. So thank you for having this as a topic today. Thank you for having me on.
I thank you and Justin both for being on the show today and providing some wonderful insight and showing the emotions. It's very disturbing that nepotism drives the hiring process.